everyone, Midits here. A while back, I made a video talking about Ash Ketchum's worst Pokemon League losses. The reasons for these fights being terrible range from Ash having the most absurd disadvantages that were out of his control, powerful trainers that were essentially an act of God getting in the way, or Ash being plain dumb. However, it's debatable if Ash should have been in some of these leagues in the first place, considering some of his gym battles, which is what we're going to be delving into. Some of these get really stupid, especially the fights in Kanto and Unova, so I hope you'll enjoy this video, and let's jump straight into this. Ash should not have gone to the Indigo Plateau Conference, considering how he only got like 3 or 4 badges through legitimate means. Ash loses to Brock at first, which is understandable considering it's his first gym battle. The second one, however, is really dumb. It starts with Pidgeotto versus Geodude, with Pidgeotto losing in classic Pidgeotto fashion. Ash sends out Pikachu, which defeats Geodude, and he then has to face Onix. Pikachu is no match for Onix, and Brock gives Ash the chance to forfeit, but he refuses. It should also be mentioned that Pikachu uses Thunderbolt on Onix, which for some reason does damage to the ground type. Pikachu's attack causes a fire that sets off the sprinklers, and Onix is hurt by the water. Before Ash can win the fight, Brock's siblings beg Ash to stop fighting and causing harm to Onix. Ash agrees to this as he wants to win the battle fairly, however Brock decides to join Ash on his journey and gives him the Boulder Badge. Where do I start with this? I guess good on Brock for caring about safety, but I genuinely don't know what rules, if any, should have been broken by the sprinklers turning on. Then you have Ash forfeiting and still getting the badge, which, by Ash's own thought process, he got unfairly. Ash was honestly pretty lucky early on, not in battles, but in random dumb stuff like this happening. Ash didn't win his next battle either against Misty, and the fight itself doesn't even matter, as it was interrupted by Team Rocket. Ash gets the Cascade badge for beating them, which, as we've seen, is not an outstanding accomplishment. Next up is Ash versus Sabrina, where Ash loses, and we get another dumb rematch. Ash gets help from a wild Haunter for the fight, which is a decently smart move. Haunter leaves, however, and Ash's other Pokemon refuse to fight, so Sabrina turns Misty and Brock into dolls. I know that there are more than 8 gym badges, but how did other trainers make it to the Pokemon League? There are so many gym leaders who are either insane or just plain jerks, making it impossible to obtain their badges, yet somehow 256 trainers managed to do so. Anyway, Ash returns with Haunter, who immediately disappears again. It seems like all hope is lost until Haunter returns, making funny faces at Sabrina. This causes her inner Pokemon to laugh, which somehow counts as a victory, as Sabrina was unable to battle. The way Ash lost the Indigo League was terrible, but he should have been disqualified from the start with some of these battles. Once again, here's a gym badge Ash didn't win due to his fighting ability, as Team Rocket accidentally causes a fire during the fight. Ash saves Erica's Gloom from the burning gym, and he's rewarded with the Rainbow Badge as a result. Ash's actions were commendable, but they say nothing about his ability as a Pokemon trainer. Before I get to the final Kanto example, I have to mention a fight where Ash did lose, but it's still a really dumb moment. Ash rematches Blaine and wins against him fair and square, but in their first fight, Pikachu knocks out Rhydon by using an electric move on its horn. I need to just stop questioning anime logic at this point. Ash technically got this final badge legitimately, but it's under dubious circumstances. Giovanni is the Viridian gym leader, but just as Ash goes on to take the gym, Jesse and James are temporarily installed as the gym leaders. They use Giovanni's Pokemon, but considering everything we've seen from Team Rocket, this fight wouldn't compare to one against Giovanni. Although to be fair, Gary fights Giovanni earlier in the episode, and he uses Mewtwo, and there is no way there's any fight in the Indigo League that would be this hard unless Tobias materializes out of thin air again. After Kanto, Ash gets most of his badges properly, and nothing nearly as bad happens. There's some occasionally silly stuff akin to aiming for the horn, such as Pikachu using Thunder on Swellow during the Tate and Liza battle to create an ability called Thunder Armor, although I can kind of forgive this, as it is a pretty cool visual, and it also might have been the show's attempt at adapting the Guts ability, which boosts a Pokemon attack stat when it is affected by a status condition. There's a significantly rare number of matches that are unfair, or where Ash's acquisition of the badge doesn't feel fully deserved. Ash has a pretty solid fight against Price, with the battle ending with Pikachu against Piloswine. However, Price forfeits because he believes that Ash proved himself, and that he doesn't want Piloswine to get hurt. Even Ash doesn't fully accept this win, but after Kanto, it's like that this is the only notable thing about this region. While Ash won by knocking out all of his opponent's Pokemon, his battle against Watson in Hoenn was completely unfair. When they enter the gym, Ash and friends are surprised by a Raikou, which is revealed to be a robot after Pikachu accidentally destroys it. Ash sends out Pikachu at the start of the fight, and he obliterates obliterates Watson's team. Ash doesn't send out a single other Pokemon. After winning, Pikachu gets sick and is taken to the Pokemon Center. While there, they discover that the mechanical Raikou caused Pikachu to become overcharged, and that is why he was so powerful in the fight. Ash and the others go looking for Watson when they find Team Rocket trying to steal his Pokemon. Team Rocket is defeated as always, and Ash tells Watson about what happened. Watson says that Ash still deserves the gym badge for helping him, and Ash accepts this. I'm not going to go into a whole thing about whether Ash deserves this badge. I've already said a lot of the same stuff. However, I will say that this is the most accurate fight in the show, because this is what would realistically happen if Ash were to send a Pokemon that's fought in 2 Pokemon leagues into a regular gym battle. Before we get into the most absurd stuff, I have to mention the fight against Maylene. This is a good fight where Ash puts in a lot of effort, but it concludes in a draw. The referee reveals that gym leaders can decide whether or not trainers deserve a gym badge after a tie, yet Ash and Kanto couldn't even cross that low of a bar. Maylene really enjoyed the fight, so she decided to give Ash the Cobble badge. Now we reach the stuff that can't be defended by early series weirdness. These aren't fights with some issues, but ultimately still showed that Ash was working hard. These are the worst of the worst, Ash's time in Unova. Ash did win both of the battles I'll be talking about, but these fights were a bad sign for the Pokemon League. Ash's final gym battle is against Roxy from the Burbank Gym. Roxy is overconfident, and when she finds out that this is Ash's final badge, she decides to make the battle a 6v3. It takes Ash's Boulder, Unpheasant, and Leavanny to knock out Roxy's Coughing. This is followed by a little back and forth where Scolipede knocks out Leavanny, Pignite knocks out Scolipede, and Garbodor knocks out Pignite. In classic Palpitoad fashion, Palpitoad gets knocked out, and they are both left with just one Pokemon. Ash sends out Pikachu and is ultimately victorious. The problem lies less with the fight itself, and more so the absurdity of Ash having to do a 3v6 and it being so close. It makes Ash feel incompetent considering the experience he has, and it definitely does a disservice to some of his Pokemon who lost before they could get their chance to shine. Next up, however, is most certainly the worst gym battle in the show. It shows Ash as an absolute imbecile, making one decision that's dumber than anything he's done before or since. This is, of course, the Elisa incident. Ash is thinking about strategies to defeat the Nimbasa gym leader Elisa, and he is seriously thinking things through. Pikachu wants to fight, but Ash reminds him that his electric moves won't be of use against her electric type Pokemon, as if that stopped him before. Ash even goes out of his way to call Professor Juniper to get one of his Pokemon from her lab. The battle begins with Elisa sending out Zipstrika, and Ash sending out Palpitoad. It's pretty smart on Ash's part, since Palpitoad is part ground type and won't be affected by Elisa's most powerful attacks. Zipstrika is knocked out, and Elisa sends out Emolga, with Ash keeping in Palpitoad. Unfortunately, Palpitoad was damaged by Zipstrika, and Emolga pulls out some smart moves, so it's knocked out. Ash then sends out his next Pokemon, since this is a 3v3, right? All of Ash's Pokemon are unable to battle because Ash only brought Palpitoad. Ash runs to the Pokemon Center to gather Pokemon, which should 100% count as a forfeit, but he sends out Snivy to continue the fight. Snivy is also knocked out, and Ash has no idea who to send out since none of his other Pokemon have an advantage. Ash then realizes that the power of friendship or whatever is more important than time matchups. Please ignore the countless times he's already known this, and sends out Pikachu. Pikachu quickly takes out Emolga, and while it's a greater struggle, Pikachu also defeats Elisa's Dynamo. Ash genuinely should have been disqualified for having to go back to the Pokemon Center, because that's exactly what happens when you lose a fight in the games. I don't know if even Kanto Ash would do something so stupid, and that says a lot. It honestly should not have been that surprising that he lost to an even more incompetent trainer during the Unova League. The show can have a lot of dumb moments that make you wonder who thought this was a good idea, but I guess that one positive is that seeing Ash's lowest moments makes his peaks hit a lot harder. There are a lot of great fights across the series that show Ash's development. It takes some time to get there, but when you reach those moments, they are truly something special. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, check out some other content. If you really did, subscribe so that you know when future content comes out. I have a Patreon, so for $1 a month, you can support me and see my videos ad-free. That's gonna be for now, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.